Good evening and welcome to the Schlocky Horror Picture Show. I'm your host for this evening, Nigel Honeybone, the hardest working skeleton in show business. You may remember me from such films as Nosferatu, The Seventh Seal, and The Shrieking Skeleton of Calypso Bay, amongst other classics of world cinema. So you can just imagine how thrilled I am to be hosting a series of public domain films on community television. This is how thrilled I was to work with Ingmar Bergman. And this is how thrilled I am to work in community television. Yay! Why am I so thrilled? 5 simple words. 100 hours community service. All I can say in my defense is that I didn't know he was a High Court judge, not in those fishnets. At first I was quite prepared to work it off in an old folks' home. Unfortunately, my first day was a complete disaster. I spent more time filling their bedpans than emptying them. But enough about me. Tonight's film is a 1964 misunderstood classic, The Last Man on Earth, or to use its original Italian title, The Ultimo Uomo della Terra, which roughly translates is The Last Man on Earth. And who is the last man on Earth? Why, none other than my good friend Vincent Price. But more about us in the break. Now sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for the torrent of terror that is The Last Man on Earth. Now, if you're leaning back in your armchair watching this film and thinking, I think I've seen this somewhere before, you're probably right. The Last Man on Earth is based on the novel I Am Legend, and I Am Legend has also been adapted as The Omega Man, which starred Charlton Heston. So they're basically the same films, except in one film you've got Vincent Price and in the other you've got Charlton Heston. Last Man on Earth was originally going to be produced by Hammer Films. So in some alternate universe exists a version with a real budget set somewhere in Cardiff with Peter Cushing in the lead and Ingrid Pitt as... Ingrid Pitt. Sorry, where was I? Oh yes, Hammer unfortunately pissed on the script. Sorry, but anyway, Last Man on Earth was originally going to be produced by Hammer Films, but they passed the script on to Robert Lippert, who their American associate from American International Pictures. I'll be showing a lot of films from American International Pictures during this season. He decided to produce the film in Rome, where people were laying around on the streets for free, rather than America, where they'd have to pay them to do it. And now I really should talk about Vincent Price, who after all was one of my biggest fans. We'd worked together on a lot of films, but one in particular that stood out was House on Haunted Hill. You may remember him from such classic roles as Egghead in the Batman TV series, or as Dr. Phibes, or you may indeed remember him from one of his last classic films, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. That was the thing about Dear Vincent. As long as it kept him in gourmet meals, he didn't care what he appeared in. Half the budget of 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo went on his wine list. So The Last Man on Earth and Omega Man were based on the same book, I Am Legend. There is a new version of I Am Legend in the works, purportedly starring Will Smith, though it could be Martin Lawrence by the time it gets to the screen. So if you're the second Last Man on Earth, who would you rather have as the Last Man on Earth? Vincent Price, Charlton Heston, or Will Smith? Will Smith would be able to keep them entertained with his highlights from his early career as a middle-class rapper. Whatever became of Jazzy Jeff anyway? Sure, Charlton Heston would be most people's pick. He'd be armed to the teeth and able to take out the zombie brigades. I mean, I'd go with Charlton Heston. No, I wouldn't go with Charlton Heston. I'd go with Vincent Price, because Charlton Heston only has guns and guns on his side, whereas Vincent Price can prepare chicken cacciatore with nothing but 3 tins of cat food and a dishwasher. He'd have the most fabulous stories about show business. Remember, Vincent Price was once the greatest Shakespearean actor that ever walked the stage. Well, in Theatre of Blood he was anyway. A part of Hollywood was lost forever when he died in 1993, and the least we can do is remember him through such films as tonight's. I return you now to The Last Man on Earth. And with that rather shattering conclusion, we come to the end of the Schlocky Horror Picture Show, and my first show here on TVS, though you can see me briefly in a special on anorexia nervosa in a few days. If you've liked what you've seen, please write to me at nigel.honeybone@gmail.com. or visit my MySpace page. My MySpace page sounds like I've got a stutter. Anyway, if you haven't liked what you've seen, you are far too late to have any kind of critical judgment. Well, we've had a few emails during the show, so I'll read out the first one. Dearest Nigel, I've tried to keep abreast of your new show. I'm sure it's going to be titillating and blah, 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 melons, blah, 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 cleavage, blah, 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 nipples. Oh, just get over it, Elvira. You're the one with the breast fixation. No one else cares anymore. Okay, here's the next one. Honeybone, I'm only saying this once. There's only room for one animated skeleton in popular culture. Behave yourself. Skeletor, opposition leader of the universe. Yes, we've had this discussion before, Skeletor. Just get over yourself. And here's the last one. You spelled schlocky wrong, you schmucks. Get it right or you're fired. Henry DeGorta, program manager, TVS. You can't fire us, Henry. You're not even paying us. Go schmuck yourself. So anyway, stay tuned next week, same time, TVS, to see the next film in our awesome spectacle of public domain films. The Mad Monster starring George Zucco and Glenn Strange. See you then.